Welcome to Face to Face. This is a show about change and about what's next. It's a show that wants to ask questions, peel back the layers of our average everyday experience, and go beyond scratching the surface. We interview amazing people with incredible ideas and stories who have done wild, weird, and wonderful things. Remember that imagination shared creates collaboration, and collaboration creates community, and community inspires social change. I'm David Peck, and this is Face to Face. So my next interview is with three guys who are responsible for a film and a place called the Gaza Surf Club. Very interesting documentary. It's a short interview, a little bit noisy in the background. We were at a bar, there was a lot going on, but I don't think it's going to be too distracting at all. This film is about surfing, and it's about surfing on the Gaza Strip, and this is pretty angry white cap-like water. And here I was talking to Philip Gnadt, the director, Mickey Yamine, and Matthew Olson, kind of one of the guys behind this whole thing. And so watch this film and enjoy it if you're a surfer or a skateboarder, but more importantly, watch it from the perspective of, well, from a political perspective, from a relational perspective. What does it mean to build community? What about gender issues around the world? How does that affect who we are and how we do things? And I think you're even going to find out a little bit about Islamic nail polish. I know it sounds crazy, but it's absolutely true. The Gaza Surf Club, Philip Gnadt, Michael Yamine, Matthew Olson, and davidpecklive.com for more interviews, rabble.ca. Check us out there, and we are live at the Toronto International Film Festival. Well, welcome to Face to Face. We are sitting here kind of live. I don't even know where the heck we are, actually, but we're in some bar here in Toronto with three special guests, and here to talk about the Gaza Surf Club world premiere. Philip Gnadt, Matthew Olson, and Michael Yamine, sometimes affectionately referred to as Mickey. So thanks, guys, for joining us. Philip, what exactly is the Gaza Surf Club is maybe a good place to start. This is a film about a lot of things. This is not a film. Exactly. This is not a film about surfing.
Yeah, I think Gaza Surf Club is an idea. Is an idea that a bunch of guys in Gaza who like to practice a sport that is quite popular around the world. First of all, they just like the sport, but obviously this is a special region, and I think they, beside the sports, because this is such a special region, there needs more around the sports. So I think the idea is that the people who serve there, that they kind of how do you say? To build a community. Exactly.
I was just going to say, no kidding. They're building a community. Yeah.
Because as they started, I think a lot of these guys surfed a little bit for their own. There was the North Beach and the South Beach, and it would be nice if they could make to find a way to sorry, it's maybe you.
Yeah, well, actually, we have Matt here with us, and Matt is not just one of the protagonists of the film.
Is he like the only surfer in the room?
Yeah, yes. Well, you know, I've stood on a board before. I wouldn't call myself a surfer though.
I've been on twice, just so you know.
Yeah.
But I did used to skateboard. So
I've done a couple of other things, but.
Oh, and by the way, congratulations! It's a great film.
Oh,
it's
thanks.
a great doc. It's peeling back a whole lot of layers, and it really is.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's been a long journey for us. It's been 4 years, but just to get back to your question about what the Gaza Surf Club really is, because Matt over here is basically the person who coined the name Gaza Surf Club. So before he came around, there were people surfing in Gaza.
Right. Okay.
And I'll let Matt actually introduce you more.
Well, I think I noticed T-shirts
some hats. You know, that I'm guessing that wasn't necessarily made just for the film. I mean,
that wasn't made for the film at all. Actually, but you go ahead.
Yeah, no, the Surf Club is a project that I started in 2008, actually in 2007, in the fall of 2007, and it's a real club. I mean, it's part of a 501c3 American nonprofit that I run called Explore Corps, and that was our pilot project. And the idea was to put together resources both inside Gaza and outside of Gaza that could help to build a sustainable surfing community there, because there were already a few surfers in Gaza, but it's an extremely difficult sport to get equipment for, to transport equipment, to maintain equipment. It takes a real skill set and a real community working together.
Well, they can't even, in the film, they can't even get the boards across the border.
Right, yeah. We brought the biggest shipment of boards we brought across, took us 2.5 years of negotiations to get across, the Israelis.
Utterly ridiculous.
Yeah, so our goal has always been to build a sustainable surfing community, and there's extra things to go along with that, like a clubhouse and a Palestinian National Surfing Association, so they could get international.
And is this about Philip's comment earlier about building the community? Is this what?
Yeah, that was the goal from the beginning, because there were a couple surfers here and there in Gaza, but they didn't work together. They didn't even know each other in some circumstances.
So what? But you're Hawaii and you're a surfer. So why?
Yeah, well, my father was a U.S. diplomat, and he was stationed in Israel for 4 years, but his job was in Gaza. So we lived, when I was in high school, just north of Tel Aviv, and my father would commute down to Gaza every day. So I have friends on both sides of the border since I was 13, and I started surfing when I was 13, or actually when I was 12. And I always wanted to surf in Gaza, so as soon as I heard that there were a few surfers down there, I started to put together this idea for a project.
It's very cool, by the way. Before we go a little deeper, is the surfing better in Hawaii or in Gaza? We need to get that.
Much better.
Yeah, let's get that on the table.
Much better in Hawaii. Much better in Hawaii.
Yeah. It seems a little tamer, almost. It doesn't seem quite as angry.
Oh yeah, well, it's still just the Mediterranean. I mean, there are good waves. People ask me all the time how the waves are there. If you were a surfer and you lived in Gaza, you would want to have a board with you. You'd have way too many days when you woke up and look out the window and be frustrated that you didn't have a board. So it's not a place where you're necessarily going to go just for the surf, but if you lived there, having a surfboard is a great way to have some fun.
But for us as a film team, to be honest, we were surprised how big the waves actually were.
Right, because it provided a whole lot of challenges, I would imagine.
And we asked a lot of people, is the summer season better? Is the winter season better? And we got quite a different variety of answers, but finally we were there in October, November.
Yeah.
And we got some pretty amazing waves.
It's incredible.
Actually,
it's incredible.
So,
it really is stunning.
It's very choppy. The waves are.
Well, I think the word angry didn't come up while I was watching the film, but that's sort of the sense I get. Like you could be really thrashed against the shore here if you weren't careful.
Oh yeah, and they, the harbor actually, the marina, the harbor is where the best waves actually are, because I think it's because of the
it's because of the shape of it, because
jetty
creates a sandbar out in the little bay there.
So that's actually where the best waves are, but there's so many other problems that go along with that. First of all, it's dangerous because there's rusty metal sticking out and rubble, and also actually this we only found out on the third day after we were in the water for a while, is that one of the main sewer lines just goes right out into the water right there.
Great.
So our cameraman had a
good safety tip.
Had a bit of a
I love the way you guys, the tracking shots, the cross-cutting between sort of the I mean, obviously Gaza, many people and families and so on living there, but the rubble of that cross-cutting between the footage is really quite stunning and remarkable, and kind of almost compelling in a way to ask more questions. I think for me, my favorite shot in the whole film, and there's a lot, is the straightening of the rebar. Do you guys? I got construction roots. I'm actually an electrician, so
Really?
so I've worked in and around rebar, reinforcing rod for our listeners, by the way. And the guys straightening it, and the gizmo that they'd created to use the old metal to rebuild. I mean, it's beautiful. It's brilliant. I mean, isn't this the Gaza Surf Club in a sense?
Yeah, they do the same thing with concrete. They take all the concrete rubble from buildings that have been destroyed and they pound it into aggregate and they get cement in and they reuse it in new construction. And the surfers do the same thing with their equipment. They take anything that they can scrap together to fix their equipment with. We've done some workshops showing them how to use locally available materials, like how to make surf wax out of beeswax and natural ingredients that are available right in the market there. Of course, they still want the real surf wax, but
of course. Well, I couldn't help. I mean, and the lovely sort of irony, I don't know if it's irony, but the Vans wetsuit and praying just before going under the water is probably my second favorite shot. I'm wearing a pair of Vans right now, so it goes way back in my own skateboarding history. Yeah. What, pray tell, is Islamic nail polish? I need to ask.
Actually, I don't think Islamic nail polish exists. I think it's just regular nail polish that she can just...
With her sense of humor.
She can scrape off.
Yeah, I think it's water soluble.
Sabah is her name?
Sabah.
Yeah, Sabah.
Yeah.
But Mickey,
just for the...
It must be special nail polish, because normal nail polish you can't remove by hand. It must be
I think it's water soluble nail polish.
It's water soluble to be taken off in a hurry if need be. I mean, I laughed out loud.
Yeah.
I wasn't quite sure if it was her sense of humor, which I think she's got a delightful one, or her sense of just pushing back, against the system.
Yeah, I mean, for the listeners here, there's a scene where one of the girls that is there puts on nail polish, and she says that in school, her teachers might scold her because she's wearing nail polish, and that if that happens, she can take it off real quick. So that's why it's Islamic nail polish. But yeah, I guess
the great thing about that is that she might be in school, but she still doesn't know whether or not she can wear it, because it's a great representation of Gaza in general, that the Hamas government is constantly changing rules and regulations on a day-to-day basis on a whim. So you can go to school one day and nail polish is fine. You can go to school the next day and nail polish is illegal, and then you can go back the next day and it's fine again. It just kind of depends on the whims of the people in charge. It's like that with
pretty
with
hard
surfing
to make any
equipment, for
steps
example.
forward. It seems to me.
Yeah, it's very
pretty
difficult.
much.
I mean, we brought wetsuits in, and then one day we were told no, wetsuits are now illegal because they're considered military equipment, and so they confiscated a bunch of wetsuits from us. So it's
but you have to remember what the idea behind that is. I mean, the military, they can use wetsuits. That's not a bad thing to have.
So this is personal gain. This is a little
yeah,
bit of
well,
corruption.
there's
a lot of corruption
there's
going on.
plenty of corruption. There's
one guy
plenty of
sitting there.
unpredictability. Yeah.
So what about the reason I asked for the nail polish is clearly the gender sort of undertone of the whole film, with her wanting to surf, and I guess, another favorite scene where the family is watching the video of her surfing. I mean, it almost brings a tear to your eye. The pride of the whole family, right, and the father's pride of his daughter out surfing and doing something, I guess, kind of naughty in a way, and really kind of unacceptable at a certain age. Yeah. And yet he says, and he's holding his baby and saying, I'm gonna train this one as well, which is just, I love the pushback. Is that something that is it safe to do that in Gaza, or can you get away with it because you're surfers?
I mean, generally,
you're rebellious.
Generally, in those countries, I guess it's not necessarily always about religion. It's more about tradition, and it's also about politics and the government. And like Matt was saying, sometimes they just change the laws around. But I guess it's always it's a give and take. You need to see how much you can do and how much you can say and who you say it to. But I mean, the father is although he's so. He's teaching his girls how to swim and how to surf and all those things. At the same time, he's also very religious and very traditional.
He strikes me as really traditional.
He has multiple wives, for example, and he has like 8 kids. I can't even remember. It's insane amount of kids.
And telling everybody telling everybody God bless you. And
no, Abu Ghanem.
Yeah, he has 10.
He has 10, right?
The last time I was there.
10 kids.
Yeah.
Wow, it's a lot of surfboards.
Yeah, he had 2 toddlers there, I think, at the time. So yeah, he's busy.
He's busy. He's a busy guy.
He's a busy guy, but yeah, that's the thing. It's more about the tradition,
Right.
Certain things are allowed, other things are not forbidden, but they're frowned upon. So girls surfing at the age of 15, 16 is not necessarily forbidden, but it's frowned upon.
Certainly frowned upon.
If you get older than that, like a girl that's maybe 16, 17, 18 years old, I guess you're getting into that region where it might even be illegal, But
In Gaza it is.
In Gaza it is, yeah.
Is that something, as the club, I guess, continues to grow and build, and hopefully the vision grows, sort of beyond itself in the idea, is that something that's going to create grief, do you think? Or is it something, that whole split? I mean, clearly you've got a nonprofit going on here. is, the splash and ripple. Is this going to grow out? Is this slowly chiseling
You mean
away
with the
at
girls
this-
specifically?
Yeah, well, gender issues, political issues. I mean,
Yeah,
surfing becomes the metaphor for change, right? I mean,
Right, and I let the parents kind of lead the way with that. I never approached any girls because I know it could get me in a lot of trouble, and it has gotten me in a lot of trouble. I've spent more time in the police station in Gaza than I would care to, and with the internal security services and everything. Primarily because we have some girls that we've brought some equipment to and taken out in the water and things. Now we do it very early in the morning when no one's on the beach, not to hide it, but just to
don't flaunt it.
not to flaunt it, exactly. And we always go by. We take the lead from the girls' parents. The girls there's two sets of sisters and their cousins and their fathers are brothers. They're the ones who they asked me for years. Oh, hey, can we bring the girls down? And I said, yeah, of course, bring them down. And it took 3 years before they even brought the girls down to meet everyone.
Wow.
So they're hesitant, but they're also determined to make their daughters into watermen.
Well, there almost seem like, there definitely is a very playful aspect to these guys that are sort of, it seems to me like they're pushing back in a lot of ways. I would have loved to have heard some of those other conversations around tea, that you guys didn't put into the film. I bet there's some really interesting stuff that you had to leave out that covers a lot of ground. And again, back to Philip's original comment about this sense of building community, it seems to me that's what's really going to affect long-term change, isn't it?
Yeah.
You've lived there, you guys spent a lot of time in the region with these guys, getting to know them as friends. I can't remember his name, but the guy who's sort of the teacher of the guy with the great eyes, beautiful eyes. Yeah, he says it's a prison here. There is no hope, and he looks at you guys, I think, and says, "If you see hope, tell me where it is, because I can't find it." Again, I laughed out loud, but I think I get it, sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Abu Jayyab, he's the oldest of the surfers, and he's also been surfing the longest of the group of surfers that are there. And he is very frank about the realities for someone like himself. He's not a young kid that can kind of hop on a plane and fly somewhere. He has family, has responsibility. He's from a refugee camp, which most of the surfers are not, so things are even worse for him. But he's also the one who has taken the most initiative to kind of develop the surfing community in Gaza. He's the one who's kind of taken on the role of a leader, but a fair leader, which is something that should be noted because leadership is not always fair in Gaza. He's taken it on himself, and he teaches kids, and he brings people out for workshops, and he maintains his equipment, and he's really, really a hard worker.
He's pretty committed.
Yeah, he's very committed.
Pretty passionate guy.
Yeah, he's a really great guy to work
So
with.
sadly, we have to wrap up in a couple minutes here, and I hope maybe we can do part 2 down the road. So clearly you've got big plans with the club and just the nonprofit side of it, I guess. I'd love to hear more about that. Maybe at another time. Maybe we can do a follow-up interview. How did you get connected? Was it on the beach in Waikiki or?
Us?
Yeah. How did this become how did it go from a club to becoming a film?
No, I found this topic via an article in a sports magazine.
Wow, I love it. It's awesome.
So one of my best friends is actually from Gaza.
Okay.
But he's this very political guy, and at the barbecue it's always about politics and Israel and stuff like this.
I like him already.
And it's very interesting, but over the years getting like, okay, I know the stories. And when I found this story, I was amazed that it was so different. So this is something, a story about Gaza which is not so political in the first place. And I like the idea to do a documentary about it. And from the beginning I was very aware that I need a producer or a co-director who speaks Arabic or he's familiar with the region, and this is why I found Mickey, because he was raised in Cairo, so he speaks fluently Arabic, Egyptian Arabic. And after we started the project together, we were introduced to Matthew.
Well, congratulations, 4 years. That's a major commitment.
It took a while.
I bet it did, and based on the footage, it's a beautiful film. It's a wonderful film. I think I hope it raises a lot of questions. I hope it generates a lot of interest in the surf club, and there's a website as well, is there not?
Yep.
GazaSurfClub.com, I believe.
.com, yeah.
Yeah, excellent. Guys, congratulations. Philip Gnadt, Michael Yamine, and Matthew Olson here today talking about the Gaza Surf Club world premiere at the Toronto International Film Festival. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, George.
Thank you.